Let's do this. No need to hesitate. I am on time and I am on edge. Now, I know you guys, many of you are not nervous. I mean, I feel like some of you have taken my advice from yesterday and I need to hear from you. Jason Smith, you are doing great. Why? I feel like Susan Thompson and I are on the same plane, but we're here to help. So this is going to be a bit of a pep rally and a bit of walk down memory lane. We will win. Let's go.
We will win. And we will win. We will.
Oh, that was not. I'm having a little sound issue. I got to get my audio. Okay, let's do it. Sorry, guys. Let's play that again. And we will win because when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. Okay, I feel really good about that. I hear that. And I did not get to play for you all this morning on Jen Taub Live this clip of Oprah Winfrey. And she was standing there on stage in Philadelphia last night with first-time voters. Let's listen.
Philadelphia, I am here with 10 first-time voters for Philadelphia. So Phoenix, I hear you did research before voting.
I did. It was really important to me that the policies that Kamala Harris has proposed for women's reproductive rights and education equality are what led me to cast my ballot for her.
Fantastic. And Eddie, I heard you stood in line because
honestly, it was an honor as an African American to exercise my right to vote, which my ancestors fought so hard for. And as a professional soccer player for the Philadelphia Union, I know that God, He gave me the opportunity to be a leader in this platform to encourage my peers and all of you out here to stand for what's right. Go Kamala.
And Sophia, you haven't voted yet, but you're getting up at what time tomorrow to go vote?
7 a.m.
7 a.m. when it's open, okay?
And my family's from Puerto Rico, so voting.
Puerto Rico!
So guys, I cannot control the volume of that clip. I am so sorry. It's too quiet. But you get the idea. Oh my God, people are baking election cakes. Everyone, oh my gosh. I'm looking at, you guys are cheering me up. Ada and Mobius and Carol and Catherine Mira, we are never going back. Now, I also feel really enthusiastic when we look at how badly Donald Trump is doing now. And what I did not get to show you is how weird he was the other day when he again was trying to attack Michelle Obama, but lost his train of thought. Let's play this. It's nuts.
And a terrible thing happened 2 days ago. I've always treated his beautiful wife, Michelle, I've always treated her with great respect. But she hit me hard over the last. What was that, front row Joes? Look at the front row Joes. They've been to like 300 rallies. And this, by the way, look at this thing. 25,000 people standing outside. Look at it, to the back window. You know it's full when you have the back window.
Oh, come on. 25,000 people. I don't think so. That was in Macon, Georgia the other day. But shall we remember what just happened last night? Let's play this.
Very far left, and people wanted to start meeting. There was a whole thing. This country was coming together, and then we got hit with something that.
Yeah. So he's lying. He is obscuring his face with a dark hat. He doesn't want to be seen. His crowds are pathetic. He can't actually remember what he is trying to say. But you guys, I think we need to go down memory lane and remember. So I don't know if you realize that Kamala Harris announced her campaign, I think it was July 21st or 22nd. And then she just hit the ground running. And she antagonized Donald. And it worked. And I think you're going to remember this is a highlight of her campaign.
Well, Donald, I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face.
I mean, that's how she got out of the gate, right? Now, since she was just referencing the debate. Remember, he was claiming at first he was not going to debate her, but he did. He did decide to do one debate. After she wiped the floor with him, he never came back. Let's look at some highlights from that.
Tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
She baited him then, and he never, ever came back from that. Do you remember what happened after she did that? Let's go.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
television.
television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
Do you remember that? I got more. This is from one of our crazy towns. So let's take a listen. I mean, Donald Trump, again, he never recovered. His biggest fear was to admit that he is a failure. And we saw the crowd size. She had 50,000 people in Philadelphia. And that was last night. And when he was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, he was barely hanging on by a fingernail. He'd been in Pittsburgh before. I think that was the shot of the semi-empty auditorium he was in. But when he got to Grand Rapids last night, he was really dragging. But before we get to that, let's look at one of our highlights during the campaign from Crazy Town.
Can't imagine New Hampshire voting for him. Anybody in New Hampshire, because they're watching right now, but anybody in New Hampshire that votes for Biden and Kamala, I really think I call her.
That was the moment when he forgot that he was running against Kamala. Now, before we go to other highlights from the campaign, where we were, where we've been, where we are now, I want to also point out that there are some other races where the arrogance and the hate and the sexism has not has not benefited the candidate. And I'm thinking of Berine Moreno, who is in Ohio running against incumbent Sherrod Brown for Senate. And this was a classic. And, you know, just how we say we're not going back, insulting women of a certain age is a bad idea because we vote and we remember in November. Let me play this one for you.
Candidate Berine Moreno is getting harsh backlash tonight because of comments he made over the weekend about women who support reproductive rights. NBC4 obtained a video recorded at a Warren County town hall during which Moreno accused suburban women of being focused solely on their ability to get an abortion and questioned why it would even be an issue for older women.
You know, the left has a lot of single-issue voters. Sadly, by the way, there's a lot of suburban women. A lot of suburban women that are like, listen, abortion's it. If I can't have an abortion in this country whenever I want, I will vote for anybody else. Okay, a little crazy, by the way, but especially for women that are like past 50, I'm thinking to myself, that's an issue for you.
That's not funny. It's not funny. It's not an issue for women to be concerned about the health care of their families. Women over 50, maybe OBGYNs. Women over 50 may have children or actually be human beings who are concerned about their fellow man, fellow women. I mean, what is wrong with this guy? Yeah, we remember. So there's more. And what I would like to share with you first is starting most recently, right? I want you to see something, the closing argument that Josh Shapiro made. I showed you earlier this morning an excerpt from something Pete Buttigieg shared, but this was Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, on stage last night.
It was here in Philly, just down the street, that we declared our independence from a king.
I'm going to remove that because we don't have great sound, but what he said is it was here in Philly down the street where we declared our independence from a king. Now, let me just play for you then, just give you a taste of Kamala's full speech. We'll listen to different parts of it now than we did this morning. Some similar highlights. Okay, here we go.
Farmers who are here tonight and sharing the gift that they have with all of us, I thank you all so very much. And to everyone here, thank you for taking time out of your busy lives to be here, for us to all be here together, showing who America is, that we are all in this together. We are all in this together. So Philadelphia, you ready to do this? Are we ready to vote? Are we ready to win? Oh, it's good to be back in the city of brotherly love, where the foundation of our democracy was forged. And here at these famous steps, a tribute to those who start as the underdog and climb to victory. So America, it comes down to this. One more day, just one more day in the most consequential election of our lifetime, and the momentum is on our side. Our campaign has
Hey guys, I have to interrupt this beautiful speech to share the news that our friend here, Roxanne Tracy, broke, which is this: a federal court has now rejected the RNC, the Republican Party's lawsuit, where they were attempting to stop several counties in Georgia from accepting absentee ballots at offices over the weekend and into Monday. The federal judge, and I'm quoting what Roxanne has excerpted here, they said that this policy or this rule put forward by the counties does not even withstand the most basic level of statutory review, and or the lawsuit, I'm sorry, does not, the lawsuit, sorry, the rule allowing this was upheld. The rule allowing these ballots to be still counted was upheld because what the judge said about the lawsuit was that it did not withstand even the most basic level of statutory review and reading comprehension. This was beyond frivolous. It was idiotic. So that's good news in Georgia. It's going to be a lot of swatting down lawsuits from now until January 6th. That's the way it's going to be. We've been down this road before, but I will take that win. I would rather be in a situation that we may be in, having to defend a victory, than to be facing this monstrosity for 4 more years. And let me just be clear, Donald Trump over the weekend was, or this could have happened on Monday. This was something I was going to share. No, today is still Tuesday. This is something that happened over the weekend. He made more dark threats on our lives and on this country's rule of law for his day one. Let's listen to that.
Nasty a little bit at times, and maybe at the beginning in particular, but it's going to be something.
It will be nasty at times. Let's listen to that again. Very scary. It'll be nasty at times, and on the first day in particular, right? He's talked about wanting to have a lawless first day in office. Let's go.
And it'll be nasty a little bit at times, and maybe at the beginning in particular, but it's going to be something.
Okay. Yeah, nasty at times. Yeah. This is, the hat he's wearing. It's something Elon Musk encouraged him to do, and they're calling it dark MAGA. We want no MAGA, whether it's red or black and yellow like the Proud Boy colors. We want that hat in the dustbin of history. Now, we've got some other highlights. I would say that, I think one of the highlights of this campaign has been the fact that the economy right now under Biden-Harris is roaring. And yet Donald Trump keeps suggesting it's falling apart, that we're in a terrible situation. And yet Kamala Harris is really smart. She's never pointed to the numbers and said, look, the stock market is up, or look, inflation is held more steady. No one wants to hear that. Because the reality is most of us are still trying to struggle to get by because of inflation previously, because of all kinds of things like, wages not keeping up with inflation. Things are better now, but to tell ordinary people like us that the stock market is up doesn't really make it easier to put food on the table, or for young people trying to save for a house, actually pay for it. So instead of pointing to, those figures, she talks about what she's going to do to make it better. Okay, so let me play some of that.
I've lived the promise of America, and I see the promise of America in all of you. In all of you. I see it.
Okay, that was her on the ellipse, where because she can see us, we are not pawns in some sort of game that she is playing. Kamala has an agenda, and I want to find you this piece about her priorities here. This will help us see the contrast.
Now, our biggest challenge is to lower costs that were rising even before the pandemic and that are still too high. I get it. I still remember our mother sitting at that yellow Formica table, late at night, cup of tea in hand, a pile of bills in front of her, trying to make it all work. And I've heard from so many of you who are facing even greater financial pressures. Donald Trump's answer to you is the same as it was the last time. Another $1 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires and big corporations. And this time, he will pay for it with a 20% national sales tax on everything you buy that is imported. Think about it. Clothes, food, toys, cell phones. A Trump sales tax that would cost the average family nearly $4,000 more a year. And on top of that, you will pay even more if Donald Trump finally gets his way and repeals the Affordable Care Act, which would throw millions of Americans off their health insurance and take us back to when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. Well, we are not going back. We are not going back.
So let me take a
Okay, so now I want to share with you something that moved so many of us, right? We're doing the highs and the lows of the campaign. It's 4:20 on the East Coast. I think, as I mentioned earlier, the first polls close. I think it's 6 p.m. in Kentucky, but that's only one area. We have polls closing at different times. Let me actually play this. Michelle. Well, actually, let me take her off stage for 1 second, and let me tell you about when details on when the polls are closing. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, polling hours. I know this is small, but you can either blow this up on your screen or take a screenshot or go to votesaveamerica.com. So when I'm looking at this, let's look at some of the swing state deadlines today. So taking a look at Michigan, 8 p.m. Eastern. So we have quite a bit of time, at least 3.5 hours before the polls close in Michigan. Same story in Pennsylvania, 8 p.m. North Carolina, 7:30 Eastern time. So that is just in 3 hours. Did I do what time is it now? It's 4:30. Yeah, so just 3 hours there. What are my other states? 8 p.m. in Wisconsin. So we're going to get a lot of information at 8 p.m. Probably not enough, obviously, to call those states because you may know this already. And let me just, I'm in Iowa. Is 8 p.m. I'm gonna close this now, exit this screen. Why is this important? It's important because we have expectations when the polls close that we're going to start seeing numbers come in. But and I think you know this, but I just want to repeat this. Not every state counts the mail-in and early in-person ballots as they come in. Some states, like Pennsylvania, can't even start, I don't think, counting the ballots until sometime today, later today, or maybe when the polls open. But it doesn't even quite matter, if you're counting, whether you start counting this morning or when the polls close. A state like Pennsylvania is going to take a while to even have their vote tally. Now, of course, this comes in county by county, and that's why we hear that coming out. That's why a lot of people love watching Steve Kornacki on MSNBC, because he gets up there and they've got the big screen and they can show us which counties are coming in, and different counties give us the vibe for the state, how they turn, how they voted before, what the expectations are. But so that's how sometimes, even if a network doesn't officially call a state, you can kind of feel it, and sometimes they can call it even before all the vote is in. States, though, like Michigan, allow the voting to happen. The counting to happen. So I voted, weeks ago in Michigan. My vote's already been tallied, as have been the early in-person votes. So we're going to find out from some states faster than others, some counties faster than others, and that's going to be super exciting tonight. So Blue Jay said, what about the exit polls? How are they getting them? I don't know all of the ways that people do their exit polling, but I'm at this point where I don't care about exit polling. At this point, we just have to trust the numbers that come out. Now, as you know, with polling, not all poll companies have a good track record. Some are notoriously biased for particular candidates. And that is why, in part, the other day when we talked about the Ann Seltzer poll out of Iowa, why it kind of rocked the world. I think Ann is right. I do think Iowa is going to go for Kamala Harris. I don't know if it's going to be by 3 or by 1, but we are going to see some unexpected swings in different parts of the country. And remember, Iowa did support Barack Obama. So that's not unusual that in a recent era that the state could go blue. Now, let's go back and watch Michelle Obama now.
To help folks, especially the men in our lives, to get a better sense of what could happen if we keep dismantling parts of our reproductive care system piece by piece, as Trump intends to do. I want folks to understand the chilling effect, not just on critical abortion care, but on the entirety of women's health, all of it. There are good reasons why so many women and physicians are horrified by what's happened since Donald Trump's justices overturned Roe v. Wade. We're seeing women scrambling across state lines to get the care they need. Just this week, a major medical journal reported that after Roe was overturned, infant mortality in this country rose, in large part because women are being forced to carry fetuses that won't survive to term. One woman spent 22 days in jail on murder charges after she miscarried in her own bathroom. We are seeing doctors unsure if they can treat ectopic pregnancies. Doctors being told they can't treat a woman until she becomes so close to death that only a life of the mother exception will allow them to act. So just imagine the profound effects for all of us if Donald Trump wins this election. In states that are already putting abortion bans into effect, his FDA could further outlaw patchwork systems of telehealth appointments and mail-order pills, thereby eliminating the last remaining protections for women in those states. He could take actions that effectively ban abortion nationwide, which would put all of us in danger, no matter what state we live in. We will see more doctors hesitating or shying away from providing life-saving treatments because they are worried about being arrested. More medical students reconsidering even pursuing women's health at all. More OB/GYN clinics without enough doctors to meet demand closing their doors, leaving untold numbers of women in communities throughout this country without a place to go for basic gynecological care, which in turn will leave millions of us at risk of undiagnosed medical issues like cervical and uterine cancers. This is real. So do you think Donald Trump is thinking about the consequences for the millions of women who will be living in medical deserts? Does anyone think he has the emotional maturity and foresight to come up with a plan to protect us? Y'all, we are teetering on the edge. Even before these state bans, America was already lagging behind every other wealthy nation on measures like maternal mortality and paid leave. So we could be right back to the days before Roe, which many young people here don't even remember. The days when abortion wasn't as safe as it is today. The days when the number of mothers of color dying in childbirth was.
Hearing that is so stressful as Michelle tells us what we could have in store. And I want to let you know, I am nauseously optimistic and we will win. But if for some reason that does not happen, I'm going to stay and fight. I'm going to stay and resist. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, so let's be really clear. Donald Trump should not even be on the ballot. But here we are. Here we are. And what I want to share with you is that it really does come down to tipping points. I thought the tipping point would have been, back in 2016 with the Hollywood Access tape. I actually thought that the fact that it was clear even then that he was too tight with Vladimir Putin, and there were either some carrots or some sort of or sticks that were motivating Donald Trump, so to speak. But as it turns out, the biggest tipping point, of course, is the Roe versus Wade decision. Donald Trump put on the Supreme Court justices who had at the core of their mission to take away a fundamental right that we had had for 50 years. 50 years. They said, they lied. They convinced themselves maybe it wasn't a lie at their confirmation hearing that Roe was settled precedent. 50 years, just like that, in a decision. How dare they do that to us? These unelected, mostly men, but of course one woman, in black robes, who, because of Donald Trump, are causing the deaths of so many people. And you know what? We remembered in November of 2022, and we're remembering now. And we are going to throw them out. But it wasn't just that. That might not have been enough. It also took the staging of a rally in Madison Square Garden, where there had been in 1939 at the edge just before World War II, when it was clear who Adolf Hitler was, at least to the fascist pro-Nazis who were assembled there with their swastikas and their stiff-arm salutes and their hate. And Donald Trump knew exactly what he was doing when he chose that venue. He chose that venue. And the bottom line is, he knew, his campaign knew exactly what they were getting when Tony Hinchcliffe came to that venue at Madison Square Garden. They knew his remarks were uploaded into the teleprompter. It was a feature, not a bug, that he was a known, racist. That he told so-called jokes, which were just racist attacks, where he was just laughing. And so I want to share with you just so you can actually see what this was about. So I have got Tony Hinchcliffe, and I want to find the original, and here it is, the original joke that he told that has changed the course of this election.
Going on. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there.
We're getting there. Yes, Tony. We are getting there to where Kamala Harris is going to win. Now, I want to share with you, I know a lot of us are worried about illegality happening, interference in the vote count and such. And I want to share with you, in case you missed it, Larry Krasner, the district attorney for Philadelphia, putting out his warning. It is bold. It is definitely clear on rule of law. And it's what we actually need from the next attorney general, because we have had, and that's a topic for a different day, the failure of leadership at the top.
I want people to be reassured that when they get up tomorrow to go vote, if they have not voted already, that Everybody in this city is working and has been working for months to make sure that there will be nothing tough about that experience and nothing to fear in that experience. But I also want to be clear, anybody who thinks it's time to play militia, F around and find out. Anybody who thinks it's time to insult, to deride, to mistreat, to threaten people, F around and find out. We do have the cuffs, we do have the jail cells, we do have the Philly juries, and we have the state prisons. So if you're going to try to turn an election into some form of coercion, if you're going to try to bully people, bully votes or voters, you're going to try to erase votes, you're going to try any of that nonsense, we're not playing. F around and find out.
Yeah, I mean, that is where we are, and he's not joking. And I really wish more people at the federal level would behave or speak with that kind of clarity. Now, I think it's time to have a little fun and share some of the crazy and idiotic things Donald said on the campaign trail. Let's do this one.
The water was the worst we'd ever seen. It was a water hurricane, that's what it was. And it took houses right off the foundations and ripped the foundations, concrete foundations, like they were paper.
Yeah, these are people's homes, and that was, yes, a water hurricane, Donald. Yeah, so there are other weird things, but I wanna share this with you. It's not all fun and games. It's not all laughing at this buffoon, because this is a dangerous, egocentric man with people around him who are equally deranged and sadistic, and of course the compromat. I want to play for you from Bob Woodward's an interview with him. An interview with the famous Washington Post Watergate reporter Bob Woodward, who has yet another book out. This one is called War, and this was an interview of him in October.
Discussed this with Coates several months ago. He said, "Is this blackmail? In other words, is Trump being blackmailed?"
I mean, that is wild. I don't think that has really sunk in for the public yet, that his own director of national intelligence suspects he might be getting blackmailed. It's not a Democrat. This is not some crazy liberal commentator. It's his own director of national intelligence that suspects.
I mean, we have been warned. The man is dangerous and he is compromised. So the people around him suspect. Now, I think that we know about this kind of clarity, that people are now finally talking about Donald Trump, when Kamala Harris was asked by Anderson Cooper, do you think, I think it was something to the effect of, do you think he is a fascist? And she said, yes, I do. I want to share with you a little piece of that. Yes, I do comment right here.
To General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who know him best on this subject should be trusted. Again, look at their careers.
He is a fascist. She made that clear. And, I think that is part of it. I think the big messages that we have is that Donald Trump is a fascist, he is a racist, and he was instrumental in getting the court. Basically, he essentially commandeered the Supreme Court by putting on the court justices who decided that when they had the opportunity, they would reverse Roe versus Wade and take away a right that we had nationwide for 50 years. And that right was that no state could interfere in a woman choosing with her medical care provider how she should or should not proceed with her pregnancy, at least until viability, around 25 weeks-ish. Now, I want to also add that we have there's some other folks who have stood by Donald Trump and made offensive remarks. And that includes, not just Tony Hinchcliffe, but at that same Madison Square Garden, Dr. Phil, with something I found extremely disturbing. Let's play that.
We didn't choose the name for that by random. Merit Street Media. This country was built on hard work, added value, and talent, not on equal outcome, not on DEI. This
so offensive. Who actually physically built this country? Who labored for free in servitude, in slavery? I think he should think over what he was talking about, when he made those comments, especially throwing out that term DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, in the context at this rally when we've already heard these racist remarks and when Donald Trump is up against a candidate who is Black and Indian. And this idea of drawing attention to somehow that, what are they saying? That is not merit. I can't think of a more qualified presidential candidate other than Hillary Clinton that we have had in our lifetime. Now, there is, of course, plenty of other things that will cheer us up. And I'm going to get back to the final closing arguments in a second. But I do want to share with you some excellent, fun parts of the campaign. So let's first show Springsteen, the boss, supporting Harris by saying Donald Trump is, well, you'll see.
Thank you. I'm Bruce Springsteen, and I am here today to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz for President and Vice President of the United States, and to oppose Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Now, here's why. I want a president who reveres the Constitution, who does not threaten but wants to protect and guide our great democracy, who believes in the rule of law and the peaceful transfer of power, who will fight for a woman's right to choose, and who wants to create a middle-class economy that will serve all our citizens. There is only one candidate in this election who holds those principles dear, Kamala Harris. She's running to be the 47th president of the United States. Donald Trump is running to be an American tyrant. He does not understand this country, its history, or what it means to be deeply American. And that's why November 5th, I'm casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Oh, that makes me so absolutely happy. So I got more for you, though. Wait, I've got this. One of the big highlights, I think, of the campaign was Kamala Harris pointing out that Donald Trump doesn't like his fellow Americans, that anyone who disagrees with him should be a target, not just of his verbal abuse, but also of violent retribution. Let's roll the clip.
And so after all these years, we know who Donald Trump is. He is someone who will stop at nothing to claim power for himself. And you don't have to take my word for it. I've said for a while now, watch his rallies. Listen to his words. He tells us who he is. And And he tells us what he would do if he is elected president. So here tonight, I will show you one example of Donald Trump's worldview and intentions. Please roll the clip.
The worst people are the enemies from within. The enemy from within. Those people are more dangerous, the enemy from within, than Russia and China. These people should be put in jail the way they talk about our judges and our justices. Now, if you had one really violent day, one rough hour, and I mean real rough. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
So you heard his words. You heard his words coming from him. He's talking about the enemy within Pennsylvania. He's talking about the enemy within our country, Pennsylvania. He's talking about that he considers anyone who doesn't support him or who will not bend to his will an enemy of our country. It's a serious issue. He is saying that he would use the military to go after them. Think about this. And we know who he would target. And we know who he would target because he has attacked them before. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Election officials who refuse to cheat by filling extra votes and finding extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of bending to his will. This is among the reasons I believe so strongly that a second Trump term would be a huge risk for America and dangerous.
Yeah, so there she laid that out. Let's not forget that he is attacking us, that he wants to use violence against his enemies. He's still laughing at the fact, the horrific reality that Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, was attacked with a hammer. He has no empathy. He is glad when there's random or deliberate acts of violence against people who he does not like. Now, I got for you one last thing, actually two last things. First, Donald Trump still believes or says that the attack on the Capitol on January 6, 2021 was a day of love. I don't think so.
And reality check, we are the underdog, okay? And that's why I'm here with you and you are taking the time to do the hard work that is necessary. It's why I'm campaigning for every vote, because I want and intend to be a president for all Americans. And no matter their political party, where they live, or where they get their news, okay? Last night, you may have seen I went on Fox News. And while I was doing that, Donald Trump was at a Univision town hall where a voter asked him about January 6th. Okay, so now we here know January 6th was a tragic day. It was a day of terrible violence. There were attacks on law enforcement. 140 law enforcement officers were injured. Some were killed. And what did Donald Trump say last night about January 6th? He called it a, quote, a day of love. points out something that everyone here knows. The American people are exhausted with his gaslighting. Exhausted with his gaslighting. Enough! We are ready to turn the page!
Yes, we are. Now, one last thing. For those of you who have not voted or might still be contemplating a so-called third-party candidate, I want to point out to you that the Green Party in Europe, I believe, has asked Jill Stein to drop out, to stand down, to endorse, well, you know, she can't really drop out at this point, but to endorse Kamala Harris if she cares about the planet. No such thing. She also doesn't even know enough to be ready to step into any kind of job in Washington, and she is an utter joke. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this today.
We looked at your social media.
Sorry, it's not this one. I've got a different Jill Stein clip that I want to show you. It is not Mehdi Hasan interrogating her. It's this. I think this is the one that I want.
Election has already started.
Sorry, yet another Jill Stein supporter. This is the Jill Stein clip I want for you. Here we go.
How many voting members in the United States House of Representatives, Republican, Democrat, and Independent? How many total?
How many total
Yes.
are there? What is it? 600 some?
No,
You know.
it's 435.
I'm just going to laugh. She is a joke and a dangerous one. She is not a good option for us. So now, before we get to Crazy Town, I want to just play you the very, very end, the closing argument for Kamala Harris from her speech last night.
You one last time. Are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
I love that. And what I'm going to love even better is when she wins and gives her acceptance speech. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I live for that moment. I know we will all be together for that. So now, my friends, we have to at this point talk about Crazy Town. And I thought I had my Crazy Town music all loaded up. Let me see. Oh, I got it. Here we go. And since this has been sort of a retrospective on the campaign, Crazy Town is my favorite part of the campaign, which was this from the debates. I am juvenile. I can't help myself. Let's play it.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. If she becomes president,